Welcome, good people of Fort Smith. It is the last day of April, and it's time for Give Me 5 minutes with Fort Smith City Director Neil Martin. So let's talk about our study session last week. Last Tuesday was our study session. We reviewed the recommendations for federal dollars for CDBG and home funding. These are funds from the federal government that go to communities, and they help various organizations that we have, or they go to help various organizations around the city. Next Step, the homeless shelters in the area, and a number of other areas around. So we looked at those recommendations. There's about 1.2, 1.3 million dollars in federal dollars that go to these organizations. So we reviewed that, and then we also reviewed some funding that is federal dollars that are going to, a lot of it are going to be going to Next Step Homeless Services to build their facility that we talked a lot about back in 2022. So some of this money will be about half the dollars that Next Step needs in order to build their facility over on the industrial side of town off of Wheeler, kind of back in that industrial area. So we had some good discussions about that. We also had our quarterly discussion about water leaks in the city. We do this every quarter. We want to get an update of how things are going as it relates to water leaks. We had about 227 leaks fixed in the first quarter of 2023, but that's up about 51, or we had more leaks called in, so we're up 51 leaks in the quarter. But just for everybody's benefit, currently right now we're at 443 leaks in the city of Fort Smith. There was a lot of discussion around it, a lot of frustration from the board. A lot of challenges related to staffing to be able to fix these. We have a third-party contractor, Forsgren, that's helping us do some of these. So there was a little bit of frustration related to that. But the positive note is about this time last year, really January 10th of last year, we were at 624 leaks. So we're down quite a bit. We're just up for the quarter, up for the first quarter of 2022. We'll continue to look at that. Hopefully we can address some staffing issues, and we're continuing to work to prioritize getting these things down. So that was the discussion. We had a community forum, and there was a lot of interesting discussions happening there. I'm sure you saw some of those things on Facebook or on the news related to the animal that was killed by the dogs, and a lot of discussion related to that. So a number of good things that were brought up at the community forum. This Tuesday we have a regular meeting. This is a voting meeting, and we're going to be discussing a number of things. A number of rezoning requests at different parts of the city. One is rezoning a property in the location of Project X. We've talked about Project X in the past. So there is a building next to where Project X is potentially going, and there's a rezoning request for that building to put that building in line with the areas around it. So we're going to be doing that, be voting on that. There are some rezoning requests out in Chaffee Crossing. There's some rezoning requests over off of Jenny Lynn for a additional parking spaces or a parking lot for a daycare. We'll be approving those CDBG and home funds that I mentioned earlier. But not a real sexy agenda, not a lot of significant interest of everybody. I would encourage you to go to fortsmithar.gov, hover over government, then click on Board of Directors meeting information. There you'll be able to see the full agenda. You can see all the things that we're voting on. We will be going into executive session to have our performance evaluations of our city administrator, Carl Gefkin, and our internal auditor, Tracy Shockley. So that's a good time for the board to talk about the performance in the quarter, and we'll get a chance to discuss and converse. We don't get the opportunity to do that except in executive session. So we're going to be doing that. So not a ton of things on the agenda, but they're all important. I'd encourage you to go look at that. That's it for this week's Give Me 5. I hope the information was informative and made you better aware of the items that are in front of your board of directors. Everybody have a great night and have a great week, and we'll do this again next week on Give Me 5.